Hey friends, it's me, Micah. This is the Homestead bandwagon. I am at the workstead today amongst the tractors, answering the age-old question, what is the right size tractor to buy? Specifically compact tractors. The number one regret I hear from people is that the first tractor they bought was the wrong size. How do you prevent that? By buying your second tractor the first time. So I've got 5 questions I ask my customers that help me recommend to them a tractor that I think would be right for their application. So let's go through those 5 questions and then we'll dive into them and go through my thought process for how those questions determine the right size tractor. So let's just get started. Question number 1, how big is your property? Question number 2, is your property established or are you the one doing the establishing? Question number 3, what jobs do you plan to do with this tractor on a regular basis? Question number 4, how much do you need to lift with your machine, on the front or the back? And then question number 5, what special considerations do we have? And I'll specify here with the property and your usage. So do you got a bunch of swamps? Do you have a bunch of hills? Do you have rivers you have to ford? Do you have small spaces you need to get into? And are you doing tractor work for hire? So let's break them down now, go through these questions, and determine what's the best tractor size based on the answers to those questions. So you're going to notice that I don't talk much about horsepower on tractors. That's because in reality, the horsepower, from what I've seen, isn't quite as important as the size of the tractor. So there's 25 horse tractors that are the same size as a 40 horse, and honestly, you could probably get away with doing mostly the same jobs with both. There are horsepower intensive things that you might need to do, and we could talk about that later, but for the most part, we're going to concentrate on the size of the tractor because the most important thing is size. Size matters. Now, why does it matter? Because the larger the tractor is, the faster you can get a given job done. We're talking about weight or mass and momentum, right? So you can keep more momentum. We can push on things harder. We can pull on things harder the heavier we are. Horsepower can come into play a little bit, but in reality, size and weight is really important for lifting stuff and stopping stuff and pushing stuff and pulling stuff. Size is the most important thing. So that's what we're going to look at here. We'll go back to question number 1. Question number 1 being, how big is your property? If I could only ask a customer one question, it would be that question, how big is your property? If you've got a property that's, say, 1 or 2 acres, you can go with a 1 Series tractor, like a John Deere 1 Series or a BX or a Coyote CS or a LS MT1 Series. And figure out the other brands because I don't know any other brands, size nomenclatures. So, 1 or 2 acres, it's going to be pretty light work, a 1 Series tractor. So 2 Series tractor then would be for like 2 to 5 acres. So a John Deere 2 Series, a Kubota B Series, a Coyote CX, an LS tractor, MT2S. Don't get me into how LS does their size names, or a LS XJ series. So 2 to 5 acres, that's a pretty good match if we're generalizing. Now, if you're working 5 to 10 acres, then we're looking at that 3 Series tractor in my mind. So, like that Kubota L Series, the Economy L Series, the Coyote CK Series, a really popular size tractor, really great for that 5 to 10 acre property size, or the LS tractor MT2E. Don't get me started. So what if we're working like 10 to 20 acres? Well, you guessed it, 4 Series tractor, John Deere 4 Series. This is where you're going to start looking into maybe a cab for a tractor as well. You'll be spending a lot more time in the seat. So that'd be like a Coyote DK or an LS tractor MT3 series. That's the tractor I own. We own an MT3 42. It's been a great tractor. So it's that bigger frame size. We're starting almost to get into utility tractor size, which if you're 20 acres plus, Then we're going to have to talk some more, but you're getting into those utility tractors. You're getting out of compact or subcompact tractors and getting into utility tractors. So if I could only ask one question, how big is your property? That's how I would say, okay, this is probably going to be the right tractor for you. Then we're going to modify that answer based on the answers to the next 4 questions. So then we get into question number 2. So now that we've established a baseline size of the tractor based on the size of the property, we get to question number 2. And this is a biggie. Is your property established, or are you establishing the property? Are you going to use this machine to, wrestle with Mother Nature and turn something that's been wild for years and years and years into something you can live on, or something you can farm on, or whatever? So if you, let's say, have an acre or 2, so you could buy the smallest tractor they make, but this acre or 2 is completely overgrown. You've got blackberries like we had out here on our property, or just it's covered in scrub brush or something like that, and you're going to go in there and tame it. That smallest tractor isn't going to be a good match. We're going to need to go up 1 or 2 sizes depending on how overgrown the place is. So that's something to keep in mind. You might have the right size tractor for your property when it's been completely established, but it's not the right size now. So you could be penny smart and pound foolish, saving money on the tractor, but it can't really help you clear the land as fast as the land will grow back up behind you. You'll start here, clear to here, and then all of a sudden you're already overgrown here in the 3 years it takes you to get to the end of the property. So let's consider that. You're going to need to go a size or 2 bigger if you're establishing the property. Now, on the other hand, if the property's already established and you're just your own landscaper, you're your own groundskeeper, you let's say you're running 2 to 5 acres. There's an argument to be said that you could go down a size of tractor if that, was beneficial to you in other ways. And we'll get to that with special considerations, but there are times when the property is so well established and you're just coming in to, keep it up, that maybe you don't need to go, with that bigger size tractor. You could justify going down a size. So yeah, question number 2 is the property established, or are you establishing it? Really helps us kind of dial in a little bit better the size of the tractor that'll work for you. Many times, if the property's already been established, just stick with that first choice of tractor. Now we'll get into question number 3. What jobs do you need this tractor to do? This can really help us modify which tractor you're going to buy. And horsepower can now kind of affect our decision a little bit. So what kind of jobs are you doing? Are you just putzing around, basically just, taking the garbage cans to the end of the driveway once a week? Okay, you probably don't need to worry about the size of tractor you get. Get whatever makes you happy. But, what if we have a field that you want to maintain and you're going to be brush cutting it all the time? You're going to be tilling a lot. You're going to be using a box scraper a lot. Maybe you have repetitive loader work to do. You've got an established property, but you want to re-landscape it, you want to change it, you want to, put in new driveways and stuff. Let's make sure that we're getting you a tractor that's the right size to do that. So again, let's look at the 1 to 2 acre scenario. You could go with the smallest tractor they make, but you got dreams. You want to be a flower farmer. Consider at least going up 1 size of tractor. The larger the tractor is, the faster you can get your jobs done by magnitudes. So, it can just be a lot less frustrating going up a size on tractor, so you can do your tilling, you can pull whatever implements you're going to use. And honestly, a larger tractor, it's easier to put on implements, take them off, switch stuff really fast, and moving lots of material with your bucket. So if you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks, we're going to be going back again and again and again doing the task, consider going up a size. And yeah, really do consider the tools you're going to buy. If you're say working 2 to 5 acres, but you're going to run a sawmill, and so you want a grapple or a set of forks on your tractor, that 2 series tractor might not quite be big enough to do that job. And this kind of dovetails with question number 4, how much weight do you have to lift? but it's a very big consideration. You know, if you're going to be running a wood chipper that requires, you know, a 40 horse tractor to work, and you bought a 25 horse tractor, we're having a bad time. So let's really consider, you know, what's your future? What jobs do you need the machine to do? You know, if you're going to be using a backhoe a lot, consider a larger tractor that'll handle a backhoe a little bit better than the small tractor. So it's not something we can answer quickly, but it's something that we need to consider. What are the jobs we're going to do all the time? And if they're PTO intensive tasks or horsepower intensive tasks, like, you know, turning a tiller or pulling a box blade, you know, if you're always grading, maybe you're the guy or gal who's in charge of taking care of a 2-mile long gravel driveway for your HOA. That's why you're buying the tractor. You only have an acre, but you're going to be dealing with that driveway all year long. Going with the smallest tractor isn't the way to go. Go up 1 or 2 sizes to do that. So it might take a little research on your part for your chosen jobs to figure out, okay, what do I really need here? But you know, don't let yourself get stuck on a smaller tractor when maybe a bigger tractor would have helped you get those repetitive jobs done faster. And horsepower may come into play a little bit here. Okay, so question number 4, how much weight do you need the tractor to lift? This one's, again, really a big deal, especially if we're going with smaller tractors. Oftentimes we need to really size up. So again, we're going to pick on the people with a couple acres, 1 or 2 acres, who are buying that 1 series tractor, that smallest tractor. But you have a pellet stove and you're tired of unloading those pellets from the truck by hand because you're going through a couple tons of pellets per year. That 1 series tractor isn't going to help you very much because pallets of pellets weigh a lot. So if we're trying to save your back, you're going to need to go up a couple sizes to a tractor that'll actually handle that kind of weight. One of the top things I sell is forks for tractors. And I'll tell you right now, the farther that weight gets away from the loader frame of your tractor or the pins, the less you can lift, and it's exponential. So if you think, hey man, I need to lift 1,000 pounds out of the back of a truck regularly because hefting those by hands just isn't working anymore, don't buy a tractor that's rated to lift 1,000 pounds. You're not going to be able to do it. You might need something that's rated to lift 2,000 pounds. You might be going up 2 or 3 sizes on your tractor. So how much weight do you need to lift regularly on the front? You know, if you know, the property you're working on is a few acres, but you're using round bales to feed a couple cows. Again, these round bales are heavy. They take a lot to lift. Don't buy that 1 or 2 series tractor. You got to get that 3 or 4 series tractor to lift that. And we talked previously about, you know, if you're lifting lumber for your lumber mill, that's a really big consideration. How long do you need these slabs to be? How much does that wood weigh? If you're doing a ton of repetitive lifting or any lifting at all of a certain amount of weight, buy the tractor that can do that weight. I have a customer who we went round and round and round. They basically wanted the smallest tractor they could get because they had a little postage stamp lot, but they were working a business out of their home where they'd import engines. So they had to pull these engines out of freight trucks, and they bought the smallest tractor that they could afford. And I told them, I was like, it's not going to lift that weight. They said, no, we'll make it work. Well, they came back to me a few months later with a broken loader because they were able to get the loader into the load, and then as soon as they got out of the truck, it would pull the tractor down. They thought it was funny, right? The whole tractor just boom hit the ground. Well, they broke their loader frame, and they wanted warranty on it. We're like, come on, guys. We know what you're doing. We're not going to defraud the manufacturer because you were misusing your equipment. So if there's loads that you're going to have to lift, make sure the tractor can lift it. I mean, sorry, man, you might have to buy a tractor that's way bigger than what would make sense for you, but this load lifting capacity is really important to you. And one way you can kind of get away with maybe, getting sneaky on that is lifting the loads with the rear of the tractor. A lot of people don't really consider the rear load lift capacity of a tractor, but you can put forks on the back of your tractor. You can put bale spears on there. So when we do get customers who say, you know, I bought a tractor that was too small, and I got cattle on my 10 acres, and we're we decided to start feeding them with round bales, but my tractor won't lift a round bale. Sometimes we could put a spear on the back of the tractor and move those bales, but boy, it's really inconvenient. You can't stack those bales and stuff. And also consider how high you need to lift. If you're loading stuff into the upper part of your barn, you're going to need a pretty big tractor. So, how big of a loader do you need? What can really come into effect, and it can blow all the other considerations out if we're lifting some loads that are extreme. And it doesn't take much to overpower a tractor, as far as lifting capacity goes. It's not a forklift, it's not a skid steer, it's a tractor. So let's really, really think about what loads am I going to lift. Are you lifting IBC totes of firewood? That 3 Series tractor would be the minimum that you've got to have in reality. And many times they get overwhelmed. You might need to go up an extra size tractor. Like our tractor is considered like a 4 Series tractor. They call it an MT3. Okay, LS has a weird numbering system, but it's a 4 Series tractor if you use the John Deere scale. And that 4 Series is great for lifting IBC totes of wood. I've done it with one size smaller, a Coyote CK Series. They have a very high load lift capacity, be about 1,900 pounds. But still, you really feel that weight's there if you're going up and down hills and stuff. So consider that. Consider if you're going to be lifting loads that you're depending on being able to lift, you're going to have to scale that tractor up in many cases. Okay, so question number 5, and this is the most nebulous. Are there special considerations? So let's say, you've got 20 acres. You're getting horses, and you had this barn built, and unfortunately, all the doorways into the barns are really small, and the stalls that you want to go in and clean with your tractor aren't wide enough to accept a 72-inch bucket, and all the tractors that are the right size run about a 72-inch bucket on the front. And you could put a smaller bucket in, but the front end of the tractor just won't get into these stalls. Well, you got to size down. That's just all there is to it. So we got to consider these special considerations. Again, why are we buying this tractor? We're buying it mainly to maintain our horse property. Well, we're going to have to make some sacrifices, go down a tractor size, and make sure that you can actually accomplish the task you're buying the tractor for. Otherwise, the tractor just sits in the field and does nothing. Now, there's special considerations for shrinking your tractor, like fitting into a horse barn, or if you've got a really muddy property, there's something to be said for running a smaller tractor because maybe it won't churn that mud up or get stuck. I find that if a tractor is going to get stuck, it's going to get stuck. But maybe if it's really soft ground that you don't want to tear up, and you're just doing landscape maintenance on your 10 acres, and no big plans, you're not doing field mowing much, okay, we can go down a size of tractor. But special considerations, like if you've got a really hilly property, hills and tractors really don't mix. At the very least, go with a bigger, wider tractor. You got to be safe, especially if you're using your loader going up and down hills. I had a customer with a 2-acre property. They wanted the smallest tractor they could get. We talked. I said, man, listen, if you got a bunch of hills and lumps and bumps you're driving over, and you're constantly taking material from here to here, that's what they were going to do. They were going to be moving dirt for a couple of years, apparently. If they went with a bigger tractor, they're going to get less tipsy. They went with the smallest tractor, the machine was still really tipsy. They don't use it. So, if we're working on hilly terrain, consider sizing up your tractor. It'll weigh more, have a lower center of gravity in reality, and just be more stable on hills. And then, again, it's a grab bag in these special considerations. If you have a flower farm and you're really committed to a certain spacing on your rows, you might have to go with a smaller tractor, So special considerations like that can oftentimes make you shrink your tractor, even though a larger tractor would be way easier because it's faster to get your jobs done with the bigger tractor. If something I've had before was like a customer wanted the smallest tractor they could get, And they said, well, we only have an acre. I'm like, okay, smallest tractor. We went through the jobs they're going to do. They're like, oh, we'll use a box blade a little bit, but we have tons of time. You know, we're going to do this and going to do that. A year later, they came back to me and they said, man, I don't know why you didn't sell us a bigger tractor. So it matched what you said you were going to do. They said, well, yeah, but we're also doing tractor work for hire. Okay, well, that's a special consideration. You know, give me the info here. They thought the smallest tractor they could buy would do the jobs, and it would. It just really beat the tractor up. So again, if we're doing these repetitive tasks, even if it's not on your property, but it's on somebody else's property, bring that into the equation. And that's a big consideration, you know, not just how big your property is, but how big the properties are. I had a customer just buy a tractor who said, yeah, we only have 2 acres. We'll just take the smallest thing you got. And while we were chatting and, you know, kind of getting ready to wrap things up and sign paperwork and stuff, the fellow's wife said, now, do you think this will do okay on our 60-acre property where we're going to bring in cattle? No, no, it won't. We went back to the drawing board. You know, they came back a week later and we got close to the size they needed, and I think they'll be happy, but you know, they're planning on retiring on 60 acres, and I don't know, it just seems like useful information. So what are the special circumstances that you have? Let's look at those, examine those, and make sure that that small tractor is really going to work, or that big tractor is really going to work, you know, despite conventional wisdom. Okay, that's about it as far as I'm concerned. You know, go through the questions, modify your expectations based on the jobs you're going to do and your circumstances, and you know, get in there and buy a tractor. You know, the most important thing is working with the dealer you trust and somebody who's close to you. If your nearest dealer's 20 hours away, something's going to go wrong. It'll probably have to go to your dealer. It's something to consider. Really consider working with the right dealer and somebody who's willing to work with you and kind of plan with you for the jobs you've got going on for your tractor. And, you know, buy something that makes you happy. That's really important. It's your money, you know. Just consider buying the right tractor for the job. I'll see people who spend a lot of money on extras like mid-mowers or backhoes instead of buying the right size tractor, and I don't think they're as happy. I get a lot of calls from those folks saying, hey man, do you want to buy this backhoe, or do you want to take this thing on trade? We need something bigger. More often than not, people buy a tractor that's too small. So if you're on the fence, go up one size. It's going to be okay. I never have people call me and say, oh man, this tractor is way too big. I mean, our tractor sometimes feels a little big, but for the jobs we're doing, moving trees, clearing brush, doing all those big jobs, it's the right size. And we'll deal with it, maybe breaking the ground a little bit because the ground's kind of soft out here, because we can use the tractor to repair that damage. So what do you think? Did you buy a tractor that you were unhappy with? What made you unhappy? Did you not job rate it correctly? Am I wrong on something? Why didn't we talk about horsepower much? Everybody's going to ask that. And again, size is more important than horsepower in reality, unless you have horsepower intensive tasks. And we could go on and on and on about that. Maybe I'll do another video with size versus horsepower. We'll deep dive into that. Hope you all are doing well out there. You know, comment, tell me what I'm wrong about. That's okay. I'm a big boy. I'll just argue with you about it because I'm right. All right, we'll see you around.